The council chamber stretched high above Jiho's head, its ceiling lost in artificial stars that mimicked 1,000 different home worlds. He stood at the speaker's platform, a small circle of light in an ocean of shadows. Around him, in elevated seats that rose like stadium bleeways, sat representatives from 47 different alien species. Most of them were bigger than him. All of them were older in the ways of galactic politics. Jiho adjusted his simple gray suit and cleared his throat. The sound echoed in the vast space. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," he began, his voice steady despite the tremor in his hands. "I come before you today to report an attack on human territory. 3 days ago, raiders struck our colony on Kepler 442b. 23 civilians are dead. The settlement's food stores were destroyed. The attackers wore the insignia of the Wrath Empire." A hissing laugh came from the upper tiers. Jiho didn't need to look up to know who it was. The Wrath Ambassador was a creature of scales and sharp teeth with eyes like yellow coins. His name was impossible for human tongues to pronounce, so everyone called him the Wrath Ambassador. "Frontier violence," the Wrath Ambassador said, his voice a wet rasp that the translation devices rendered into something almost pleasant. "Such things happen in the outer regions. Perhaps humanity should not expand so quickly into spaces they cannot defend." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Jiho felt heat rise in his chest, but he kept his face calm. 6 months of diplomatic training on Earth had taught him that much at least. "The attack was coordinated," Jiho continued. 3 ships military grade. They knew exactly when our defense satellite would be in maintenance mode. This was not random violence. This was planned. The council speaker, a floating jellyfish-like being called an aloth, pulsed with blue light. When it spoke, its voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Ambassador Jiho, humanity has been part of this council for only 2 standard years. Many species experience growing pains as they learn their place in galactic society. The council suggests you strengthen your defenses and perhaps reconsider expanding into contested regions." "Contested?" Jiho's voice rose slightly. He caught himself and breathed deeply. "That colony has been registered with the council for 18 months. The region was marked as unclaimed territory." "Unclaimed by major powers," another voice interjected. "This one belonged to the Krell representative, an insectoid creature with too many legs and compound eyes that glittered in the dim light, but claimed by those who have the strength to hold it. This is the way of the galaxy, young species. You will learn." Jiho looked around the chamber. Some representatives wouldn't meet his eyes. Others watched with what might have been pity or amusement. It was hard to tell with alien faces. He thought of the report sitting in his encrypted files. The report that Commander Deho had sent from Earth's military headquarters. The report that detailed exactly what humanity could do if they stopped playing nice. But his orders were clear. Maintain diplomatic relations. Don't reveal capabilities. Be courteous. "I formally request council intervention," Jiho said. "And I ask that the Wrath Empire provide compensation for damages and loss of life." The hissing laugh came again, louder this time. Other representatives joined in with their own species' versions of amusement. A chattering from the Krell section, a low rumble from the massive Gordoth delegate. "Request noted and denied," the council speaker said. "This matter is closed." Next on the agenda, "With respect," Jiho interrupted, and the chamber fell silent. Interrupting the speaker was a serious breach of protocol. "With respect, this matter is not closed. Those were human lives, our people. We will not simply accept this." The Wrath Ambassador leaned forward in his seat. Even from this distance, Jiho could see the predator's gleam in those yellow eyes. "What will you do, little human? Your species has been in space for less than a century. You have no alliance, no great fleet, no ancient weapons. You filed your complaint. It was heard and dismissed. Accept this lesson and move on. Or," the Wrath Ambassador showed his teeth, "continue to push and learn harder lessons." Jiho stood silent for a long moment. He wanted to tell them. Wanted to explain that every human ship, even the smallest cargo hauler, carried weapons that could crack a moon. That human soldiers trained in gravity 3 times what most species could survive. That Earth's defensive satellites could sterilize a planet in minutes. But his orders were clear. "I see," Jiho said quietly. "Thank you for your time, honored council." He walked out of the chamber with his head high, even as laughter followed him into the corridor. Back on Earth, 16 light-years away, Commander Deho stood in the war room beneath the Pacific Ocean. Holographic displays surrounded him, showing every human ship, every colony, every military asset humanity possessed. His aide, a young officer named Hyejin, approached with a data tablet. The council rejected the ambassador's request, she said. Daeho nodded. He'd expected nothing less. The galaxy didn't respect newcomers. It respected strength, age, and fear. Humanity had been courteous for 2 years, following every rule, accepting every insult with diplomatic grace. Any response from the Vrath? He asked. Their fleet is mobilizing near our mining operations in the Kepler system, Hyejin reported. Intelligence suggests they're planning another raid. They think we're weak? Daeho smiled, but there was no humor in it. They mistake courtesy for weakness. An old error. Should we request permission to engage? No. Daeho studied the holographic displays. Each human ship shown there was operating at maybe 10% of actual capability. The galaxy thought human ships were slow, barely capable of faster-than-light travel. They didn't know about the quantum drives that could cross the galaxy in days instead of months. The galaxy thought human weapons were primitive kinetic launchers and basic missiles. They didn't know about the gravitational weapons, the quantum-entangled munitions, the railguns that could punch through any known shield. We stay on defense, Daeho said. Protect our people. Document everything. And wait for what, sir? For orders to change. Daeho turned to look at her. We've been courteous because we chose to be. Because we hoped the galaxy would accept us as partners, not threats. But if they keep pushing, if they keep killing our people... He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Hyejin left to relay orders to the fleet commanders. Daeho remained in the war room, watching the displays, watching alien ships prowl near human territory like sharks circling prey. They don't know what we are, he thought. They see our courtesy and think it's all we have. His secure communicator chimed. It was a message from Ambassador Jiho, just arrived via quantum link. They're not taking us seriously, the message read. The Vrath ambassador essentially threatened us in open council. The others laughed. I'm sorry, Commander. I don't think diplomacy is working. Daeho sent back a simple reply. It's not your fault. Keep trying, but document everything. Every insult, every threat, every attack. When the time comes, we'll need evidence that we tried peace first. He looked at the holographic galaxy spinning before him. Somewhere out there, Vrath ships were planning their next attack. Somewhere out there, alien species were laughing at humanity's weakness. Let them laugh, Daeho thought. Let them think we're weak. Let them push and push until we're forced to push back. Because when that moment came, when humanity finally stopped being courteous, the galaxy would learn a truth that humans had known for thousands of years. The quiet ones are often the most dangerous. Daeho turned off the displays and headed for the surface. Above the Pacific, the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of red and gold. Beautiful and terrible, like fire. He wondered how many more sunsets they'd see before the galaxy forced humanity to show its teeth. Not many, he suspected. Not many at all. 3 months passed like drops of poison, each day bringing news of another attack. Lieutenant Hana sat in the captain's chair of the rescue ship Mercy's Hand, staring at the debris field that used to be a civilian transport. Pieces of hull twisted in the darkness like broken bones. Bodies floated among the wreckage, frozen in their final moments. Life signs? She asked, though she already knew the answer. Her sensor officer, a man named Taman, shook his head. Negative, Captain. 47 souls aboard. All gone. Hana closed her eyes. One of those souls was her childhood friend, a woman named Yunji who'd been traveling to the agricultural colony on New Jeju to start a new life. Now she was just another frozen corpse in the black. Who did this? Hana asked. Weapon signatures match Krell plasma cannons, Taman reported. And there's evidence of Dravik missile systems. Looks like a joint operation. A joint operation. That meant this wasn't random. The alien species were working together to hurt humanity. Testing them. Pushing to see what humans would do. Captain, her communications officer called. We're receiving a distress signal from New Jeju Colony. They're under attack right now. Hana stood immediately. How far? 20 minutes at maximum burn. Then we burn. All power to engines. Hana turned to her weapons officer, a young man named Junho. Charge all defensive systems. Be ready for anything. The Mercy's Hand leaped forward, pushing its engines to the limit. Around Hana, the crew worked with quiet efficiency. They'd done this too many times already. 3 months, and they'd become experts at finding their dead. New Jeju appeared on the view screen. a green and blue world wrapped in clouds. Beautiful, except for the flames rising from the main settlement. 3 alien ships orbited above, pouring fire down on the defenseless colony. They're targeting the agricultural centers, Taman reported, and the water treatment facilities. They're not just raiding, they're trying to make the planet uninhabitable. Rage burned in Hana's chest. She wanted to order her ship to attack, to show these aliens what human weapons could really do. The Mercy's Hand was officially a rescue vessel, but like all human ships, it carried enough firepower to shatter a small moon. But her orders were clear. Defend only. Don't escalate. Be courteous, broadcast on all frequencies, Hana said. This is the human vessel Mercy's Hand. You are attacking a registered human colony. Cease fire immediately or face consequences, one of the alien ships responded. The translation came through rough and mocking. Little humans, go away. This world is ours now. Leave or die with them. Hana's finger hovered over the weapons release. One command. That's all it would take. One command and those 3 ships would become expanding clouds of plasma. Captain? Hunyo asked quietly. Orders? She thought of Yunji floating dead in space. She thought of the people dying below. Farmers and teachers and children who'd done nothing wrong except be human. Deploy rescue shuttles, Hana said, the words tasting like ash. Get our people out of there. Defensive posture only. We fire only if fired upon. The alien ships didn't fire on them. They didn't need to. They'd already accomplished their mission. By the time Hana's shuttles evacuated the last survivors, the colony was burning. 50,000 people had called New Jeju home. Only 12,000 made it off alive. Admiral Minho received Hana's report on Earth 3 days later. He read it in his office, the walls covered with similar reports from a dozen other captains. Each one a story of attack, of death, of human restraint in the face of murder. His secretary, a woman named Bora, brought him tea and waited while he finished reading. How many does this make? Minho asked. 14 attacks in the last 90 days, sir. Escalating in severity. The latest intelligence suggests the Vrath Empire is coordinating with the Krell Collective and paying the Dravik Consortium for mercenary support. They're testing us. Minho set down the report. Every attack they go a little further, waiting to see when we'll break. Captain Hana has requested permission to engage hostile forces, Bora said carefully. Her entire crew has signed the request. They're tired of running away. Minho understood. He was tired too. Tired of reading death reports. Tired of sending condolences to families. Tired of watching humanity's children die while their military sat on the most powerful weapons in the galaxy and did nothing. Request denied, he said. Our orders from Central Command haven't changed. We maintain diplomatic protocols. We show restraint. Bora nodded and left. Alone in his office, Minho allowed himself a moment of anger. He pulled up classified files on his terminal. Files that showed what humanity really had. Ships that could cross the galaxy in a week. Weapons that could shatter planets. Soldiers who trained in conditions that would kill most alien species. All of it hidden. All of it restrained. Because humanity wanted to be part of the galactic community, not its conqueror. But at what cost? On a research station orbiting Mars, xenobiologist Suman was asking the same question. She stood in her laboratory, surrounded by holographic displays showing attack patterns, weapon signatures, and movement logs of alien fleets. Suman had spent the last 3 months analyzing every attack, looking for patterns, and she'd found them. This is deliberate, she told her assistant, a man named Wanho. Look at the timing. Each attack comes exactly 2 weeks after a human diplomatic appeal to the Galactic Council. Each attack targets a different type of colony. First mining operations, then agricultural worlds, then civilian transports. They're hitting us everywhere we're vulnerable, Wanho said. No. Suman highlighted a section of her analysis. They're hitting us everywhere we appear vulnerable. Look at the forces they're using. Never more than 5 ships. Never their main battle fleets. These are probing attacks. We're probing for what? Military response. Suman pulled up footage from the New Jeju attack. Look at how long they stayed after our rescue ship arrived. They were waiting to see if we'd fight back. When we didn't, they destroyed a few more buildings and left. Wanho studied the data with growing horror. They're learning our limits. Worse, they think they've found our limits. Suman saved her analysis and encrypted it. They see our restraint and interpret it as weakness. They believe we can't fight back because we're too primitive, too new to the galaxy. They don't understand that we're choosing not to fight. What happens when they realize the truth? Suman looked at him seriously. Either they stop attacking us or we're forced to show them, and I don't think they're going to stop. She sent her report to the Diplomatic Corps, to Central Command, and to Ambassador Jiho on the Council Station. Maybe someone would listen. Maybe someone would see what she saw. The galaxy was making a terrible mistake. Far from Earth, on the outer edges of the Kepler system, Vrath Empire ships gathered. Dozens of them, the largest force yet assembled. They positioned themselves around 3 human mining stations, cutting off escape routes. The Vrath Admiral, a scarred veteran named Tekor, watched the human stations on his display. Small things, barely armed, easy prey. Send the message, he ordered. His communications officer broadcasted on all human frequencies. Humans of the Kepler system, your species is weak and unworthy. You have 1 hour to abandon these stations. After that, we will take them by force and kill anyone who remains. The response came quickly in simple galactic common. These stations are sovereign human territory. We will not abandon them. Leave now or face the consequences. Tekor laughed, a sound like grinding stone. Around him, his bridge crew joined in. The idea that humans could threaten them was hilarious. Humanity had no allies, no powerful weapons, no real fleet to speak of. 1 hour, Tekor repeated. Then we show these mammals what happens to species who forget their place. In the mining station closest to the Vrath fleet, the station commander was a woman named Minji. She'd received orders from Admiral Minho just minutes ago, the same orders every human commander had received for months. Defend only. Don't escalate. Be courteous. Evacuate if possible. Minji looked at her crew. 300 people lived on this station. Good people, engineers and miners and scientists. Most of them had families back on Earth or the colonies. Begin evacuation, she ordered. We have 1 hour. Move fast but stay calm. As her crew scrambled to the escape shuttles, Minji sent one last message to Admiral Minho. They're not going to stop. Every time we run, they get bolder. Eventually, we'll run out of places to run to. Minho read her message in his office on Earth. He knew she was right. The attacks were accelerating. More aggressive, more coordinated. The galaxy was learning that they could hurt humanity without consequences. He pulled up a draft order he'd written weeks ago. An order that would change everything. An order that would unleash humanity's real military power. But he couldn't send it. Not yet. Not without authorization from President Suyon and Central Command. So he watched and waited, like every other human commander, while their people died and their enemies laughed. The hour ended. The Vrath fleet moved toward the mining stations, and 300 humans fled into space, leaving behind everything they'd built. The attack came at dawn. 3 human colonies spread across different sectors of space all hit at the same moment. The coordination was perfect. The brutality was absolute. On Horizon Station, railguns tore through the dome that protected 10,000 civilians from the vacuum. People died screaming as air rushed out into space. On the farming world of Promise, orbital bombardment turned green fields into burning craters. The death toll climbed past 20,000 in the first hour. On the mining colony of New Hope, Vrath soldiers landed and went building to building. They weren't just killing. They were making examples. Bodies were left in the streets as warnings. By the time human rescue ships arrived at all 3 locations, over 50,000 people were dead. The Vrath Empire broadcasted the attacks across every galactic channel. They made sure every species in the galaxy could watch human colonies burn. The message was clear. This is what happens to weak species who don't know their place. Ambassador Jiho watched the footage in his quarters on the council station. His hands shook as he saw people he might have known, might have met dying in fire and vacuum. Children, elderly, everyone. His secure communicator chimed. It was a message from Earth, from President Suyon herself. Come home, Ambassador. It's time, Jiho understood. He'd been expecting this call for months. He packed his belongings quickly and sent a formal request to the Galactic Council for an emergency session. The council convened 6 hours later. This time the chamber was full. Every species wanted to see what the humans would do. Would they beg? Would they offer tribute? Would they finally submit? Jiho stood at the speaker's platform. He looked different than he had 3 months ago. Thinner, older. His eyes held something that hadn't been there before. Honored members of the Galactic Council, he began, his voice steady and cold. 3 days ago, the Vrath Empire launched coordinated attacks on 3 human colonies. The death toll stands at 53,412 civilians. Men, women, and children, the Vrath ambassador hissed from his elevated seat. Tragedy happens in the galaxy, young species. Perhaps if you could defend yourselves properly. I'm not finished, Jiho interrupted. His voice cut through the chamber like a blade. Silence fell. The council speaker pulsed with orange light, a sign of surprise. Jiho continued. For 5 months, humanity has suffered 27 attacks. We have filed formal complaints each time. We have requested council intervention. We have followed every diplomatic protocol. We have been in every way courteous. He paused and looked around the chamber, meeting as many alien eyes as he could. That courtesy ends today. Murmurs rippled through the assembled delegates. The Vrath ambassador leaned forward, yellow eyes glinting. Is this a threat, human? No, Jiho said calmly. This is a warning. The only warning you'll receive. Stop attacking our people or we will stop pretending to be courteous. The chamber erupted. Laughter from the Vrath section. Chittering amusement from the Krell. Even some of the smaller species seemed entertained by the audacity of this young race making threats. The Vrath ambassador stood, his scales rippling with color. What will you do, little human? Your species has been in space for less than 1 of your centuries. You have no grand fleet, no ancient weapons, no powerful allies. You have filed your complaints and they have been noted and dismissed. What will you do? Jiho stood silent for a moment. He thought of the classified reports he'd read. The weapons humanity had developed. The ships that could move faster than anything in the galaxy. The soldiers trained in conditions that would kill most species. We will respond appropriately, Jiho said. Appropriately. The Vrath ambassador laughed, showing all his teeth. You cannot even defend 3 colonies. What response could you possibly mount? Will you file another complaint? Write another strongly worded letter? Other delegates joined the laughter. The chamber filled with the sounds of dozens of species expressing amusement. This council has heard your warning, Ambassador Jiho, the council speaker said, pulsing with what might have been pity. But warnings without power are meaningless. If humanity cannot defend itself, perhaps it should consider accepting protection from stronger species. Protection. Jiho smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Is that what you call it when the Vrath Empire murders our civilians? Protection? I call it the natural order, the Vrath ambassador said. The strong take what they want. The weak beg for mercy. You are weak, human. Accept it. Jiho looked at him for a long moment. Then he said quietly, We gave you a chance. Remember that. We gave you every chance to stop. He turned and walked out of the chamber. Behind him, the laughter continued. Back on Earth, President Suyun stood in the war room with Admiral Minho and a dozen other high-ranking officers. Holographic displays showed the entire human military network. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. The ambassador delivered the warning, Suyun said. They laughed at him. We knew they would, Admiral Minho replied. They see our restraint as weakness. They don't understand that we've been holding back. Intelligence Officer Young-ho stepped forward with a data pad. Analysis confirms that the attacks are coordinated at the highest levels. The Vrath Empire is leading, but they have support from the Krell Collective and paid mercenaries from the Dravik Consortium. This isn't random raiding. This is an organized campaign to force humanity into submission. Suyun looked at the holographic galaxy spinning before her. Somewhere out there, alien species were celebrating their victory over humanity. They thought they'd won. Show them the evidence, she said. I need to know we tried everything. Young-ho pulled up files. Diplomatic records showing every complaint, every request for help, every attempt at peaceful resolution. Medical reports from the attacks. Death certificates. Children's names. All of it documented, all of it ignored by the Galactic Council. We tried, Minho said quietly. For 5 months we tried diplomacy. We followed their rules. We were courteous. They mistook it for weakness. Suyun closed her eyes. She thought of the 50,000 people who died 3 days ago. She thought of all the others who died before them. She thought of what would happen if humanity continued to show restraint. More deaths, more attacks, until there was nothing left to defend. How long to mobilize the fleet? She asked. The fleet is already mobilized, Madam President, Minho said. We've been ready for weeks. We just needed authorization. And our commanders? Frustrated, angry. They've been watching our people die while sitting on the most powerful weapons in the galaxy. They're ready to show the galaxy what humanity can do. Suyan opened her eyes and looked at each officer in the room. These were good people, smart people. They'd spent months trying to find a peaceful solution. But sometimes peace wasn't possible. Very well, she said. Authorization granted. Weapons free. Rules of engagement are as follows. Defend all human territory. Eliminate any hostile forces that threaten human lives, but, she paused. But we show the galaxy who we really are. We don't become monsters to fight monsters. Clean strikes. Military targets only. We show them we're powerful, not cruel. Admiral Minho saluted. Understood, Madam President. The fleet will move immediately. Where do we start? Young-Ho asked. Minho pulled up a star chart. One system glowed red on the display. The Vrath fleet that attacked New Hope is still there. 40 warships celebrating their victory. They think they're untouchable. They're about to learn differently, Suyan said. Across Earth's military network, orders began to flow, to captains who'd been waiting for months, to soldiers who'd watched their friends die, to ship crews who'd been operating at a fraction of their capability. The orders were simple, weapons free. Show them what you can do. In orbit around Mars, Captain Deho received his orders aboard the flagship Sol's Fury. He read them twice to make sure he understood correctly. Finally, he said. His executive officer, a woman named Jiwon, looked at him with barely contained excitement. Sir? We're going to New Hope, Deho said. There's a Vrath fleet there that needs to learn a lesson. How many ships are we taking? Deho smiled. Just us, Jiwon's eyes widened. Sir, there are 40 Vrath warships at New Hope. They're expecting us to come in force. They're expecting us to be weak, Deho corrected. They're expecting us to follow their rules, fight their kind of war. We're going to show them something different. The Sol's Fury began charging its faster-than-light drive, a drive that could cross distances in minutes that would take the Vrath weeks, a drive that was just one of many secrets humanity had been hiding. Deho sat in his command chair and thought about the warning Ambassador Jiho had delivered. Stop attacking or we stop pretending to be courteous. They'd laughed at that warning. They'd mocked it. They wouldn't laugh much longer. Helm, Deho said calmly. Plot a course to New Hope maximum speed. Aye, sir. We'll arrive in 17 minutes. 17 minutes. The Vrath fleet wouldn't even have time to finish celebrating before humanity arrived to end the party. Deho activated his ship-wide communication. Attention all crew. This is the captain. For 5 months we've watched our people die. We've followed orders to show restraint. We've been courteous while they've been cruel. That ends today. Today we show them what humanity really is. Today we stop pretending. Weapons free. Let's give them a demonstration they'll never forget. The Vrath fleet hung in space like a crown of thorns around the ruins of New Hope Colony. 40 warships, each one larger than anything humanity had supposedly built. They orbited in a victory formation, their crews celebrating the slaughter they'd inflicted 3 days before. Admiral Thekor stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Bone Render, drinking fermented blood from a ceremonial cup. Around him, his officers laughed and traded stories of the hunt, how the humans had run, how they'd begged, how easy it had been to kill them. The Council estimates humanity will surrender within 2 weeks, his second officer said. They have no choice. We've proven they can't defend themselves. Tekor showed his teeth in what passed for a Vrath smile. Weak species always surrender. It's the natural order. The strong consume the weak. His sensor officer suddenly stood straighter. Admiral, we have a contact. Single ship just dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Distance, 50,000 kilometers. 50,000. Tekor set down his cup. That was close. Too close. No ship should be able to drop out of FTL that close to a fleet without being detected earlier. Identification? It's broadcasting as a human vessel. The Sol's Fury. The bridge fell silent. Then laughter erupted. A single human ship coming to face 40 Vrath warships. The arrogance was almost admirable. One ship, Tekor said. They send one ship against my entire fleet. Are humans truly this stupid, or is it a surrender vessel? Scanning now, Admiral. It's a military designation. Appears to be their largest class of warship. More laughter. Human warships were tiny compared to Vrath vessels. Even their largest wouldn't match a Vrath escort ship. Open a channel, Tekor ordered. Let me speak to whoever commanded this suicide mission. The view screen activated, showing a human male in a gray uniform. He looked young by human standards, with dark hair and calm eyes. He sat in a command chair that seemed almost primitive compared to Vrath technology. "I am Admiral Thekor of the Vrath Empire," Thekor announced. "You face 40 warships of the Imperial fleet. Have you come to surrender?" The human's expression didn't change. "I am Captain Deho of the Earth Defense Force. I have not come to surrender." "Then you have come to die." "Foolish but brave. I will make your death quick." "No," Deho said calmly. "I've come to demonstrate." "Demonstrate?" Thekor felt amusement curl in his chest. "Demonstrate what?" "How quickly humans can be destroyed. Demonstrate what happens when you mistake courtesy for weakness." Deho leaned forward slightly. "For 5 months you've attacked our colonies. You've killed our people. We showed restraint. We filed complaints. We followed diplomatic protocols. We gave you every chance to stop. You laughed at our warnings." "Because you are weak," Thekor said. "This is the way of the galaxy. The strong take what they want." "You're right about one thing," Deho replied. "The strong do take what they want. But you made one mistake, Admiral. You assumed we were weak. We're not. We've just been pretending to be." Thekor felt the first hint of unease. There was something in the human's voice, a certainty, a confidence that didn't match the situation. "You are 1 ship against 40, Thekor said. "Pretending will not save you." "No," Deho agreed. "But this will." The Soul's Fury's weapons came online. Not slowly, like most ships powering up their systems instantly. One moment dark, the next moment blazing with energy signatures that made Thekor's sensor officer gasp. "Admiral, those readings can't be right. That ship is showing power output equivalent to our entire fleet combined." "Impossible," Thekor said. "Scan again." "Admiral, weapons lock. Multiple weapons lock. They're targeting all 40 ships simultaneously." Thekor's amusement died. Targeting 40 ships at once was impossible. No computer system could manage that many firing solutions. No weapon system could track that many targets. "Evasive action," he ordered. "All ships, scatter formation. Return fire." The Vrath fleet began to move, their massive ships ponderous but powerful. Weapons charged, missiles launched. Energy beams lanced out toward the small human ship. None of them hit. The Soul's Fury moved like nothing Thekor had ever seen. It didn't dodge. It simply wasn't where the weapons were aimed. It shifted position between heartbeats, faster than sensors could track, and then it fired back. The first weapon Deho used was something the galaxy had never seen. Railguns, but not the primitive chemical projectiles most species used. These fired solid metal slugs accelerated to 5% the speed of light using magnetic acceleration. The slugs hit the Vrath shields and punched through like they weren't there. Because they weren't energy weapons. The shields were designed to stop lasers and plasma. They did nothing against solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. 3 Vrath ships exploded in the first volley. Just gone. Expanding clouds of superheated plasma where warships had been seconds before. "Impossible," Thekor roared. "How did they penetrate our shields?" His tactical officer was frantically working his console. "Admiral, those aren't energy weapons. They're kinetic projectiles moving at impossible speeds. Our shields can't stop solid matter at that velocity." "Then deploy armor." All ships full armor protocols. The Vrath ships activated their secondary defense. Thick plates of advanced alloy that could withstand tremendous impacts. It had stopped every weapon the galaxy could throw at them. The Soul's Fury fired again. Different weapons this time. Missiles that moved in impossible patterns, never flying straight, never predictable. Thekor's point defense systems tried to track them and failed. The missiles seemed to know where the defensive fire would be before it was fired. They hit 6 more Vrath ships. The armor held for exactly 1 second before the warheads detonated. Not conventional explosives. Something else. Something that created brief, contained gravitational wells that crushed the ships from the inside out. 6 more ships gone, compressed into balls of twisted metal the size of fighter craft. 9 ships destroyed in under 1 minute. Someone on the bridge whispered Thekor felt something. He hadn't felt in decades of warfare, fear. "All ships, concentrate fire on that vessel. Everything we have." 40 ships, now 31, focused every weapon on the Soul's Fury. The space around it lit up with enough firepower to sterilize a planet. Energy beams that could melt continents. Missiles that could crack moons. All of it focused on one small human ship. The Soul's fury activated its shields. The barrage hit the shields and stopped. Just stopped. Every energy beam dissipated harmlessly. Every missile detonated against an invisible barrier. The human ship sat in the center of enough firepower to destroy a star system. And it wasn't even scratched. Their shields are holding against our entire fleet, the tactical officer said, his voice breaking. This isn't possible. No ship should have that much defensive capacity. They've been lying to us, Thekor realized. About everything. Their ships, their weapons, their capabilities. All lies. On the Soul's fury, Captain Deho watched his displays calmly. His ship's AI was handling most of the combat, tracking all 31 remaining Vrath vessels, calculating firing solutions faster than any biological mind could process. Captain, his weapons officer reported, all primary weapons are green. We're operating at 40% capacity. 40%? Deho nodded. That's sufficient. Continue firing. Disable their ability to flee, then offer them surrender. The Soul's fury fired again. This time precision strikes against the engine sections of every remaining Vrath ship. The railgun slugs were dialed down to sublight speeds, punching through hulls and destroying propulsion systems without killing the crew. In 90 seconds, the entire Vrath fleet was crippled. 31 warships, the pride of their empire, floating helplessly in space. Deho opened a channel to all of them. This is Captain Deho to all Vrath vessels. Your propulsion systems are destroyed. Your weapons are offline. You have two choices. Surrender and you'll be taken as prisoners of war. Treated according to galactic conventions. Resist and I'll finish what I started. You have 30 seconds to decide. On the bone render, Thekor stared at the view screen. His ship was dead. His fleet was destroyed, and the human vessel that had done this was still operating at less than half capacity. 17 minutes. That's how long it had taken. 17 minutes to destroy the most powerful fleet the Vrath Empire could assemble. How? He asked. How do you have this power? Deho's expression didn't change. We've always had it. We just chose not to use it. We hoped the galaxy would accept us peacefully. We were wrong, and when you mistook our peace for weakness, when you killed our people because you thought we couldn't fight back. He paused. You left us no choice but to show you the truth. What truth? That humans have been fighting each other for 10,000 years. We've perfected warfare. We've made it a science. We've developed weapons that could crack planets and shields that could stop stars. But we didn't come to the galaxy as conquerors. We came as friends. We were courteous. We showed restraint. We followed your rules. Deho leaned forward, and for the first time Thekor saw anger in those calm eyes. But you kept pushing. You kept killing our people. So we stopped pretending. This is what humanity really is. This is what we're capable of when we stop being nice. You asked for a demonstration, Admiral. Consider yourself demonstrated. Thekor's communications officer spoke quietly. Admiral, all ships are signaling surrender. The footage spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Every species with access to galactic communication networks watched the same recording. A single human ship dropping into Vrath space, the mocking conversation. Then 17 minutes of systematic destruction that shouldn't have been possible. In the Krell Collective's War Planning Center, military analysts played the footage over and over. They measured the velocity of the railgun projectiles, calculated the power output of the human shields, tried to understand how one ship had defeated 40. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours, the lead analyst chittered. Maybe more. Everything they've shown us until now was theater. A mask. The Krell High Commander watched the screen with compound eyes that missed nothing. Pull all our forces back from human territory. Immediately. Send a message to Earth offering full reparations for damages. Commander, that will make us look weak. Better to look weak than to be destroyed. The humans have been restraining themselves. If they decide to attack... The commander didn't finish the sentence. Everyone in the room had seen what one human ship could do. Across the galaxy, similar conversations were happening. The Dravik Consortium recalled all mercenary contracts involving human targets. They sent urgent messages to their clients explaining that humanity was no longer to be considered an acceptable target. The Gordoth Dominion, a species of massive stone-like creatures who'd been considering testing human resolve, watched the footage and quietly removed humanity from their list of potential prey species. Smaller species, the ones who'd been waiting to see who would dominate the new humans, suddenly changed their diplomatic stances. Ambassadors rushed to draft friendship treaties. Trade negotiators offered favorable terms. Everyone wanted to be on humanity's good side. Because if humans could do this while being courteous, what could they do when they were actually trying? On the Galactic Council station, Ambassador Jiho returned to find his quarters flooded with messages. Requests for meetings, apologies, offers of alliance. Species who'd laughed at him 3 days ago now wanted to be his friend. He ignored most of them and went straight to the council chamber. An emergency session had been called. For once, Jiho hadn't called it. The council speaker had. The chamber was fuller than Jiho had ever seen it. Every species had sent their representatives. Even species who rarely attended were present, watching from the highest tiers. As Jiho walked to the speaker's platform, silence fell. No one laughed this time. No one mocked. They watched him with expressions that ranged from fear to cautious respect. The council speaker pulsed with uncertain colors. Ambassador Jiho, the council has reviewed the footage from the New Hope incident. We have questions. I'm sure you do, Jiho said calmly. Your species has been operating under false pretenses, one delegate said, a species called the Pelthon who looked like walking trees. You represented yourselves as technologically inferior, as harmless newcomers. We never said we were harmless, Jiho corrected. We said we wanted peace. Those aren't the same thing. You deceived the council. The accusation came from a Dravik representative, his voice shaking. You made us believe you were weak. Jiho looked at him steadily. We never claimed to be weak. We claimed to be peaceful. You assumed those meant the same thing. That was your mistake, not our deception. The Vrath ambassador, a different one now that the previous had been captured, rose from his seat. His voice was quieter than before, lacking the arrogance that had defined their previous encounters. Ambassador Jiho, the Vrath Empire offers formal apology for the attacks on your colonies. We also offer full reparations for all damages and loss of life. Jiho nodded slowly. The apology is noted. We'll discuss reparations later. Will you release our captured fleet? The Vrath ambassador asked. They were following orders. They didn't know about your real capabilities. They killed 50,000 civilians, Jiho said quietly. They celebrated those deaths. They will face trial for war crimes according to both human and galactic law. After that, if they're found guilty, they'll serve their sentences. If they're found innocent, they'll be released. That's how justice works. The Vrath ambassador sat down without further protest. The council speaker pulsed again. Ambassador Jiho, the council wishes to understand. Why did your species hide your true capabilities? Why pretend to be less advanced than you are? Jiho took a breath. This was the moment. The chance to explain. To make the galaxy understand, because we've been where you are, he said. Humanity spent 10,000 years fighting itself. We had global wars. We built weapons that could destroy our own planet. We almost did several times. When we finally achieved peace on Earth, when we finally learned to work together, we looked to the stars. He gestured to the assembled aliens. And we found you. A galactic community. Dozens of species living together, trading, communicating. We wanted to be part of that. But we knew our history. We knew what we were capable of. We didn't want to come to the galaxy as conquerors or threats. We wanted to come as friends. So you hid your weapons? Someone asked. We hid our capacity for violence, Jiho corrected. Every species in this chamber has weapons. Everyone has militaries. We simply chose not to advertise our full strength. We thought if we came peacefully, if we followed your rules, if we showed restraint, you would accept us as partners. Instead, we attacked you, the council speaker said quietly. Yes. Some of you saw our restraint and mistook it for weakness. You tested us. You pushed us. You killed our people. Jiho's voice hardened. We gave you warnings. We filed complaints. We followed every diplomatic protocol. We did everything right, and you laughed at us. The chamber was silent. So we stopped pretending, Jiho continued. We showed you what one ship could do. One ship operating at less than half capacity. That's all it took to destroy your most powerful fleet. Do you want to know why? No one answered, but everyone was listening. Because while you've been at peace for centuries, we spent millennia at war. While you've been trading and talking, we've been perfecting the science of combat. Not because we wanted to. Because we had to. Because humans kept fighting humans, and every war taught us something new about how to kill. Jiho looked around the chamber. We have weapons you can't imagine. Ships faster than anything you've built. Soldiers trained in conditions that would kill most of you. We have the capacity to shatter worlds, and we've been holding all of that back, hoping we could be friends instead of enemies. And now? The council speaker asked. Now you know the truth. Humanity is the most militarily advanced species in this galaxy, possibly in any galaxy. But we don't want to conquer you. We don't want to rule you. We still want the same thing we wanted when we first arrived. We want to be part of this community, as equals, not as masters, not as servants, equals. The Krell representative spoke, his voice clicking with curiosity. But you could conquer us, easily. Why don't you? Because conquest is easy, Jiho said. Peace is hard. Any species can destroy, can kill. Can take what they want by force. But building something together? That requires trust, cooperation, respect. That's what we want. That's why we came to the stars, he paused, then added quietly. But we won't be victims. We won't let you kill our people without response. We gave you every chance to stop. You didn't take those chances. So we showed you what happens when you push too far. Consider it a lesson. One we hope you've learned. The council chamber remained silent for a long moment. Then slowly the Pelthan delegate stood. The Pelthan Assembly wishes to formally apologize to humanity. We did not attack you, but we stood by while others did. We should have demanded the council act. We failed you. We're sorry. Another delegate stood. Then another. One by one, species who'd ignored human complaints, who'd laughed at human warnings, who'd stood by while humanity suffered, rose to offer apologies. Not all of them. The Vrath remained seated, angry but fearful. Some smaller species stayed silent, too proud or too frightened to speak. But enough stood. Enough apologized. Enough to show that the galaxy had learned something from the Battle of New Hope. The council speaker pulsed with slow, thoughtful colors. Ambassador Jiho, the council wishes to make amends. We propose a new charter. Equal representation for all species. Protected status for all colonies. Strict penalties for unprovoked attacks. A unified defense force to protect all members. That sounds promising, Jiho said. But words aren't enough. We need action. Real changes. Real protections. What does humanity want? The speaker asked. Jiho thought about the 50,000 dead. About the months of attacks. About Captain Deho and Lieutenant Hana and Admiral Minho and all the others who'd watched their people die, while following orders to show restraint. We want justice, he said, for those who attacked us. We want reparations for the families of the dead. We want guarantees that this will never happen again. And we want our place in this council, not as newcomers to be tested, not as prey to be hunted, as full members with full rights. Agreed, the council speaker said immediately. All of it, agreed, Jiho nodded. Then we can begin talking about peace. Real peace, not the kind where the strong prey on the weak. The kind where everyone is protected, where everyone is safe. He looked around the chamber one more time. But understand this. Human,